Hey guys, welcome back to Trek on the Tube, and welcome back to yet another one of my Star Trek reviews. Today we're talking about Star Trek Discovery Season 2, Episode 4, A Noble for Charon. Now, to set the stage for you all, let me start off by saying that this episode has already been described by many as the best episode of Discovery so far, and I gotta say, it isn't bad. Personally, I wouldn't go as far as calling it the best so far, but I can understand why some people might. See, the episode feels very traditional Trek. The USS Discovery is on its merry way when suddenly it's pulled to a full stop by a giant sphere of unknown origin. At that point, the main computer starts malfunctioning and the intrigue is set. What is this giant sphere? Is it hostile? Is it a life form? And how can we get away from it if we have to? As I said, very traditional Star Trek, but the episode also manages to blend in its modern style of storytelling. So there are other things going on as well. For example, it takes the time to dive a little deeper into who Saru is as a character and expand upon his species while also advancing the Tilly/Spore Drive plotline. Speaking of Tilly, I have nothing but good things to say about all the engineering moments because, frankly, all of it was amazing. There's some beautifully written banter between Stamets and Reno, great performances from everyone, and I love the fantastic revelation that the use of the Spore Drive is destructive to a species native to the mycelial network, furthering the idea that we'll thankfully be seeing the end of the Spore Drive sometime soon. The other plotlines, the Saru and Sphere main story, I did feel was somewhat weaker than the engineering events. For starters, I would have personally preferred to spend more time trying to understand the Sphere rather than focusing on Saru's illness, but then, that might just be me. I was interested and happy to learn more about Saru and his people, don't get me wrong. It's just that I'm still not totally sold on him, or Burnham for that matter, so at times their moments did feel like they were dragging out a bit. I will say one thing though, I believed Saru was gonna die. I believed it 100%. I don't usually fall for these kind of things in movies or TV series, but this episode got me. I mean, when he was lying there on the bed, I was convinced that was it. That was the end of Saru. So overall, even if the episode did have its weaker moments, the story was still interesting, and the concept feels very reminiscent of some old school Star Trek. Honestly, apart from the continued use of holographic displays which have no real place on the show, I don't have many complaints this time around. I only have two, actually. Burnham, at one point, says she's going to engineering to see if they can restore power to the ship or something, but anyway, a few seconds later she shows up at the Spore Drive lab, which annoys me because that's not main engineering, that's the Spore Drive engineering. Reno said it herself. She was sent by the chief engineer in main engineering to do something in the Spore Drive lab, so it makes no sense for Burnham to go see Stamets. She should have gone to main engineering to see the chief engineer. And I guess the second thing that bugged me is how the various languages in that scene from the beginning weren't spoken correctly. I know it's ridiculous and it may seem petty to complain about, but for example, Anson Mount clearly doesn't know how to speak French, and when he did deliver the line it sounded way off. It almost sounded Klingon. And that shouldn't be the case. If the universal translator is working its magic, malfunction or not, then all the various languages should be spoken impeccably, fluently. Even the French spoken by the computer wasn't natural, and it truly is a shame. I can't comment on all the languages that were featured, of course, but the French, specifically, for sure, was terrible. To be fair though, this isn't a Discovery problem, it's more a general Hollywood problem where, it would seem no one ever hires a French person to speak French. They always hire some random American that does their best, and it's never good enough, but whatever. As usual, the CG, the props, the sets are all great. I especially love the Sphere. It was terrifyingly beautiful. Saru's quarters also looked amazing. Regarding the performances, they were good, though sometimes the dialogue was a little off, and that doesn't help. Yeah, the Reno Stamets stuff was great, as I said earlier, but the Saru-Burnham dialogue at times felt forced, overdone. I will finish this off on a high note, though. Number one. Yep, Rebecca Romijn gave us a great number one that I think everyone is eager to see more of. Her exchanges with Pike really showed us that they know each other, they trust each other, and I love that. The relationship is already believable and real. Granted, Romijn doesn't look exactly like Barrett, but one thing is for sure, the makeup team worked hard to emulate the number one makeup and hairstyle from The Cage. So yeah, the episode is good. I personally wouldn't consider it the best of Discovery so far, but it is good. And generally speaking, Discovery Season 2 is delivering a higher quality episode than Season 1. And so that's just amazing, that's awesome. I can't wait to see what comes next. Alright, let's move right on to the Easter eggs and references I could spot, starting with, something short and simple, music. Both Prince and David Bowie are featured either by name or by song for the first time ever in the franchise, if I'm not mistaken. We continue with This Flower, seen in Saru's quarters. It's the same species as the one from his home planet Kaminar that his sister held in the Short Treks episode The Brightest Star. We now move on to technology. Number 1 is using a pad very similar to the ones featured in the original series. It's a beautiful and faithful rendition to the somewhat retro-looking original series prop, and I love it when Discovery does this. Stamets operates on Tilly and installs a cortical implant, something 7 of 9 has on Voyager. This isn't exactly an Easter egg, but I think it's important we talk about it. Pike ordering all holocommunication devices to be taken off the USS Enterprise because they've been malfunctioning. And also, he doesn't like them. He tells Number 1 they'll go back to using good old-fashioned view screens, and I love it. I hope this isn't the end of it though, and by the time we reach the final moments of Discovery, no one is using holocommunications anymore, but we'll just have to wait and see. Continuing on Pike, the last reference I want to talk about is some of his dialogue. While talking to Number 1 about the USS Enterprise's current chief engineer, he advances that the ship will probably never have a chief engineer more in love with it. This is clearly a nod at Scotty from the writers, who will, as we all know, love the USS Enterprise with all his heart. The Enterprise from the original series, of course, not the bloody A, B, C. Okay. Alright guys, that's it for me. Thank you so much for watching. What did you guys think of the episode? Remember to like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends, and as usual, live long and prosper.